Yay, thank you for your interest. Okay, we're going to talk about Ouija boards again, but in more detail and dedicated to Ouija boards. So, you brought up subconscious, and this is something that I usually specialize in to help people with is to look at words. Because subconscious as a theory and a word is used in therapy circles, as in like to explain some things that are unexplainable or that are deep in in those things. So it's really interesting because it's very recent, but people feel like it is a solid thing. So in the scientific communities that write papers about psychology and those kind of things, and are actually investigating, not doing a finite system, which we'll talk about in a second. It is a finite system, but they're continually exploring like kind of that final frontier of the consciousness and stuff. And in all the papers, they don't see subconscious as something to explore in the sense of scientific proof, because the whole reason why Freud even came up with the subconscious is it was a way to explain away the unexplainable. It's like, oh, we have all this stuff that is just there and it gets stored there. So instead of going into detail about what that is and having people figure out what that means to them, we just go, oh, it's just that, just like with imagination. So it's interesting because I'd say if someone's gonna force me at like point, I would be like, okay, I think, because I don't like to use subconscious. So first, before I say what I would think, I'm gonna talk about what like where subconscious would be okay to use. So if you're having a conversation and you're in a therapy session, going to therapy is so that you can live the best life possible in the society you live in. So if you are anti-society or you're struggling with these things, or for some reason you can't focus and you don't know why, and you want to get diagnosed so that you can go through the process of figuring out how to do that, that is what therapy is for. There's different forms and there's different processes, but it's basically an archive. So you can think of it like a service that someone's doing that has an archive from what they've learned in school, and they're very good because they've graduated and have a degree. They're very good at putting together that archive and observing people. And like I said, with finite systems, the desired outcome is for that. It's to bring you back to society. So if you're going because you want to help have a better like time in your life, and that is not one of your values, and you don't even want to try doing that, you want to be different, you want to change systems and things like that, sometimes therapy can be very difficult for that. So what you need to do is say, okay, I still have a part of me that the way I do want to change society, I'm not able to do that from within the system, and I would like to learn how to do that. So those are the kind of reasons why you would go to a therapist, so that you can work on whatever you want to do. Because whether we like it or not, yes, we can work on how society is, but whether we like it or not, we are in a society somehow. Like, we have loved ones, and even if we don't have loved ones, we pay rent, we live in these places, right? Like, you have to still communicate somehow and find ways to do things, right? Minimum, right? So even if you need help, like, stuff like that. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but it's more about subconscious. So when you go to those sessions, they are saying, okay, so you consciously, like, this is a type of, there's many possibilities, because like I said, when you're good at rearranging those archives of information of other scientists and researchers, I mean, they're the same thing, who have looked into these things, that is the data set that they're doing, and they refresh it and things like that. Some of them don't even like Freud, a lot of them, like, it's a lot, like a lot of the papers and stuff. So it really depends, but it's become a part of pop culture. It's also become a part of pop spirituality. And as anyone who looks at my page, I'm not a fan of people doing those things because it doesn't match. Spirituality is about infinity, even if people don't know that. So when you use tools that are finite like that and words like that, it can get confusing. So now we're getting to the point where, like I said, if someone made me say, like, okay, what is subconscious then as your translation? So my translation, if I had to reframe it, which I recommend everyone doing this after watching the video, is that basically subconscious is, like I said, people have made that word to talk about something that they feel they can't bring to the consciousness. And consciousness to the people who are okay with this word usually means like just being like alive, right? To me, consciousness means that you're aware, right? So if the subconscious is something that you don't have access to and it is filled with stuff and you're not aware, to me, that seems like what I call the mind field. And the mind field is malleable. And I know it is because with clients, I've seen how you can literally change and transform it by, because we're basically coding that we've like a coding like system. And just because you were coded in a specific way, because of the family you grew up in, the society you grew up in, and also your energies coding, it doesn't mean you can't change it. And society makes it feel this way. All the systems that humans have built, they make you feel like you can't change it. You're born that way or not. You're born creative or not. This is not true. You might be born a certain way in the, like I said in the video before this, you might be born in a way where you hold energy in a very specific way because you're streaming it, and you might have access to that. And then you also had a privilege, and maybe not even a privilege, it might have been a horrible thing that happened to you as a kid, and you might have needed to look into that quicker and keep practicing it. Like, for example, me, I'm incredibly sensitive, but that's just scratching the surface. Now I know why I got to practice that. It's because I had to read people and figure out what's going on for survival. Like when I was a little kid in school, they were so mean to me. And I remember the only way that I got through that, and like it didn't really bother me as much as it should have, like about how I look and things like that. But what I did is I was like reading them. I could feel where they're coming from, why I would see visuals and stuff. And so like, and I just like took that information and I was like, okay. And obviously I was still sad. I still felt like lonely and horrible, but I had to practice that for my survival because they would do horrible things like throw my glasses over the fence and break them. They would pull my hair. They would do horrible things like put me in dumpsters, shove me randomly and pretend to be my friend and then push me. And so anyway, so that is basically, that is why I developed those. Now, so when you're on the board and I'm pretty sure that you think the subconscious, I'm not sure you have to do this. I think that you think the same as me with the mind field, where you can change those things. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know how much you've looked into this and asked yourself and like kind of done a thought experiment. I call them thought experiments. Some people would say go to do meditation or do shadow work. Sometimes they're thought experiments because it's not serious. You're just thinking and going deep and stuff like that. So I recommend doing that. But I think that when you were looking at like Ouija boards and stuff like that, you were thinking that. And you were right. It's your mind field. And so your mind field is a mixture of all of the programming that you've had, all the experiences you've had, and your energy goes through that mind field. So you have this like field around you all over the place, and you can manipulate and change and work on how you see things and refocus things according to your life and what you love and what you don't like, boundaries, all that stuff. All of that is in there. So I don't think that it would be the subconscious. It would be working on those things to get through it. So the Ouija board is exactly that. It helps you, like, it's almost like a quick like way to kind of your framing of what you're thinking. You think you need to talk to an entity or a board or use a board. It helps you get through that. So Ouija boards are not talking to your subconscious, they're cutting through your subconscious to talk to the energies that are already talking to you and you're streaming. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I love this topic.